And what's been weird about Sacramento County, we've had 3 incorporations and now potentially a 4th incorporation with Arden Arcade, and that's unheard of in California. And the reason that Citrus Heights, Elk Grove, and Rancho Cordova Incorporated, they wanted more law enforcement protection. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're more officers on the street. That's the #1 issue. And now Arden Arcade, they want more cops on the street, and they have a good chance of incorporating come November 2nd. In Elk Grove, we've been very fortunate. We're the 2nd biggest police department in the region, only behind Sac PD. We're bigger than Folsom PD, bigger than Roseville, and it's the 2nd biggest city in the region. And one of the reasons we haven't had any layoffs, we saw the bad economy coming, and we set aside $13 million in reserves. So we've been laid off any law enforcement officers down there, and our department's one of the top-notch departments in the region. And it wasn't just luck, it was, we saw what was coming. And what's frustrating for me as a captain of the Sheriff's Department, I have very intimate knowledge of what's going on. In the past, part of the reasons we had savings is because most of your costs are personnel costs. And we always maintained vacancies our entire career in the Sheriff's Department. We kept vacancies open and saved money through personnel costs. That's how you save money. For the past 4 years, we have filled all our vacancies. So there's no salary savings. We have not had that, and that hurt us. My unit used to be based out on Orange Grove Avenue, and now we're over at McClellan. We're on Orange Grove. We spend about $300,000 a year in rent. Same size building we're in over at McClellan, we're now spending $900,000 a year. So when you start looking at some of those things, you kind of scratch your head and you're trying to figure it out. Same thing in Marconi Station, which is one of our patrol stations. That's sitting empty right now. That's $1 million a year the county's paying for rent, and nobody's housed out of there. So when you start looking around at some of these decisions that were made, you ask yourself, we could save money there, and we could have prevented some of these layoffs. Yeah, a big portion of it was the economy, but that wasn't the whole answer. It was the way we spent money at the Sheriff's Department, and we kept promoting people and promoting, and it came back and bit us in the butt. And that's one of the big things is fiscal management, and we've got to change the way we do business. And we've got to act more like a business. And then one of the reasons sitting down with Joe and with Sharif and Abe, you know, we talk about those guys are businessmen. They've been very successful businessmen because they run their organization like a business and they treat their employees well. And that's one of the things that we need to do in the Sheriff's Department is get back to that and change the way we do business. We've got to do that, and it's got to start here and start right now. And really it starts at the top. Some of the things we can do with this, for instance, an example is where I am over in high-tech crimes. We're about 70 or 80% grant funded. 70 or 80% grant funded. We put in for a grant to the federal government and checked the wrong box. And we had layoffs. Sac PD put in for the same grant. They had no layoffs. They got $9 million, plus an additional $3 million. No layoffs. So that's really the frustrating part. So you ask, how are we going to change things and make it better? Part of the reason is look at taking some of our services and reorganizing the department and changing how we do business. You've got to increase revenue. And how do you increase revenue? For instance, bring in, obviously I love locking bad guys up, and there's a lot of bad guys that need to go to jail, but do a charter school. Because you know what? People are tired of paying taxes. They don't want to pay any more taxes. And you can't lock your way out of this. They don't want to build more prisons. So some of those folks, and we've got some programs in the department, but not enough, bring a charter school in. Give some of these inmates a chance to get a GED, an education, and change the way they do business. States got a lot of programs that hire ex-felons, ex-cons. That can make a difference. And right now, a lot of those federal grants want to see law enforcement partner up with private entities in the community. There are a number of private entities. And for the past 15 years, I've served on the boards for Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Boys and Girls Club, the Children's Receiving Home, who I served on with Joe's son, Joe Jr. over there, Elk Grove Teen Center, Win Youth Services. So a lot of good community-based organizations out there that we can partner with and do those things. Elk Grove, which is a department that's only about 4 years old, a police department, they just opened a police athletic league. We can do that in the Sheriff's Department and get out in the community. They want to see more officers involved. And what hurt us truly was cutting back our POP resources because the public and our volunteers loved POP. POP did a great job. There's no more POP unit. Right now, the patrol officers are running from call to call to call. And in the north area, you can't get a day off because they're short-handed, short staffing. And in my 26 years, I've never seen morale this bad in the department. And it's not going to change. You know, it's frustrating to come to work and not feel appreciated and not be able to get a day off. And when I worked for Glenn Craig and Lou Blantis, those are sheriffs that really cared about their people. And for some of us in here that worked with them and for them, you know what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter if you have money or not, but you want to know your boss cares about you and going to get out there and fight for you. And it's not adversarial. Right now, we've got to work together with the Board of Supervisors. And one thing I heard in talking to the supervisors over there, and I talked to the majority of them, during budget time, they want a sheriff over there talking to them, not the inner sheriff, about some of these budget issues. And they don't see that right now. The sheriff does not show up. Under sheriff shows up. They want to see the sheriff involved and engaged in some of these decisions. Because everybody's hurting right now, and that pot of money is ever shrinking. And really, law enforcement is a priority. But it's our job to educate the board and make them aware of some of these things and some of the shortcomings out there. For instance, financial crimes, identity theft. That's really the #1 crime that folks are afraid of in the nation. And yet in our county, we have only two investigators that do financial crimes. Okay, so if your loss is below $5,000, we're not going to investigate it. We get about 250 to 300 cases per month. We investigate less than 1% of the cases. And with those cuts, we cut child abuse. We had 11 investigators working child abuse for abused children, neglected children that are sexually abused and assaulted and mistreated. There are now 5 investigators that do child abuse. Same number of cases are still coming in. We're investigating less cases. So some cases are falling through the cracks. Robbery, they were cut in half. So you sit there and it goes back to that same thing. You ask yourself, how can we function as an agency? How did we get this way? And how do we dig ourselves out of it? There's no magic bullet. There's no easy answer with that. But what's going to take is working together, working with other individuals. I'll tell you one thing, regionalism, a lot of folks talk about that. We've got to be regional and work with our partners. Elk Grove's got its own comm center that's costing about $1 million a year. And as Abe said earlier, they need a 7th communication center. Fire has 1 centralized communication center. We've got to partner with some of those other agencies and offer them something. That would save a lot of money, and once again, it goes back to personnel cost. We have an academy over at McClellan where I'm assigned. A regional academy with SAC Fire, City Fire, Metro Fire, and SAC PD. We pulled out of the academy. We're not involved in the academy anymore.